All right, we're testing out the Kolari Vision OLPF. I have 7 things we're going to test. The suit, the jersey, we have a vinyl and box products. We have plants, indoor plants, outdoor plants. We're going to test out common, lenses, fabrics, things associated with camera equipment. Screens to see how screens perform. And of course, the human face and a brick wall. That's how we're going to test that. So the first part of this test will be just the LUMIX S1 Mark II with 4 different lenses. We have the 14 to 28 LUMIX. We have the Sigma 70 to 200 millimeter. Love this. And a couple other lenses. We have an Anamorphic Blazar Apex lens. Beautiful lens with lots of character. Another cheap lens with lots of character. The TTArtisan 40 millimeter prime lens at f2, and we'll test it open and close down. Gonna talk through, because there's a ton of camera settings. So if I say wide angle, it's this LUMIX 14 to 28. If I say prime, it's gonna be that TTArtisan. If I say anamorphic, it's gonna be that Blazar. And if I say zoom lens, that's gonna be the Sigma 70 to 200 f2.8. So starting out, ISO 6400 at 14 mil. Going down to 6400 at 14 mil. Checking focus. We're at f4. I'm gonna take away the suit. The jersey at 14 millimeter. We'll zoom in, the f-stop lowered to 5.6. We're going to shoot everything at 5.6 just for ease. Now I'm going to raise the ISO to 6400. About 1 stop overexposed. All right, we have switched to the 70 to 200. There's 70 at ISO 640 f5.6. I'm going to raise the ISO. We're going to zoom into 200. We're going to lower the ISO. And we're going to zoom back out to 70. Let's get the suit back. Having trouble focusing. Gonna open up the lens a little bit so it can focus to 2.8. And we're gonna close it back down. To 5.6. Zooming all the way into 200. Gonna need to open back up to 2.8. Gonna tilt up. Close the F's, close down to 5.6. We're going to raise the ISO. $6,400. Just to see what that looks like. Right. Test 1 complete without the OLPF. Starting out the wide angle, opened up to f5.6, ISO 6400. Lowering the ISO down to 6400. We are at 28 millimeters. I'm going to swap lenses and get some close-ups. Zoom lens, ISO 6400. We're going to pan across to all of the things. I'm going to zoom in. Check focus. We're going to pan across. I think you're seeing the fan spinning the reflection of it. Okay, yeah, that disappeared. That was just the fan and the reflection. Let's keep panning. We're going to zoom out. Shoot this side of the turntable to that silver box there. We're going to raise the ISO once more to 64 to see any of the noise associated with that. I'm going to pan over. A little soft for some reason. We are at f4, so I'm going to close down to f8. Actually at f11 now. Checking focus. Looking really sharp at f11. Panning over. The turntable. All right, next phase. Okay, we have the plant. We're on the wide angle LUMIX lens. We're at widest 14 millimeter. We're at, it's upside down. We're at 6400 because we're shooting right in the sun. We're not going to change that. And we're at f5.6. We're going to zoom in to 28. Shooting right in the sun, strong backlight from a window, getting fully blasted with sun. Now we're going to try it with a shallow depth of field with the TTArtisan at f2 next. TTArtisan 40 millimeter, really strong backlight. Let's open it all the way up at base ISO, kind of soft there. We're not at minimum focus distance either. All I'm getting is the sun now. We're shooting straight in the sun. And we are wide open, so let's stop down. F4. Stop down once more. F6.3. Remove diffusion. Starting with the same prime lens at 40 millimeters, and we're at f6.3, ISO 6400. We're gonna open it up just a little bit, all the way. Got some strong shadows there. Notice this fabric pattern too. Okay. Oh, here's a lens. We'll shoot with him when we shoot humans, face and human brick wall. We'll throw this anamorphic lens in there. Logo we're very familiar with seeing. Stopping down to f4. Okay, we're in focus. Looking good. I don't even think I need to do any other lenses for that particular shot. We'll keep moving. Okay, we're opening up video I recorded and another screen. It's M4 iPad and a quad Cortex. Here's a cell phone as well. We're at ISO 640 f4. We're going to now, we'll raise the ISO and stop it down to 6400. Obviously it's blurred out. Stop down to f11. Should be really sharp. I would like to test the zoom lens on the screen as well. So we're on the M4 iPad again. I am zooming out now to 70 millimeter and we're at 6400. We've stopped down to f8. Now we will zoom in. To 200 millimeter. Here's the quad Cortex screen at 70 millimeter and all the way in at 200. Are at f8 and 6400 ISO. Not quite able to pull focus, so I'm going to back in focus. Backing out to 70 millimeter. There are the screens together. We're going to open it up and lower the ISO now. Let's go to about f4 and lower the ISO to 6400. There's your screen at 70 mil. Going into your screen at 200 mil. Pretty sharp, but not ultra sharp. All right. We are using autofocus. That's pretty sharp. We're at f4, 6400. All right, now we are going to do more tests. All right. All right. This is a brick. This is my face against a brick wall. Direct natural sun. And tracking focus, looking good. Your subject's face in natural light against stone, brick, and in anamorphic. The only thing to note here is I've switched to auto white balance warm, and I've also switched to anamorphic APS-C crop because this lens is an APS-C lens. They don't even have a full frame lens that's autofocus ready yet. So there's the brick by itself without my shadow. We'll also do a wide angle test next. We are all stopped down to f6.7, and I'm going to stop down even more in case you want to do f11. Not that anamorphic lenses are made to be super duper sharp. And we'll go ahead and open it all the way up after we raise the ISO to 6400. That's too much. Let's raise it to 1600 outdoors here. Yeah, okay. F10, F16. We'll raise the ISO a little more so you can see any sort of noise that might crop up. We are exactly 2 stops overexposed at ISO 3200. V-Log. Auto white balance warm. ProRes 422 HQ. Still, it's only let me shoot in 4K. So we don't have 5K. Not a huge deal. We have the APS-C crop on the 6K. Switching over to, here's a product outdoors with that. Swapping lenses. Okay, yeah. All right. Very wide, 14 millimeters there. Going to zoom in against the brick. The Apex lens there. To 28 millimeter. Just focusing center. Want to now raise the ISO to 3200. Stop down a little bit more to F12, F13. We are 3 stops overexposed at F16. ISO 3200 outdoors, and we'll zoom out to 14. There's all your distortions, no correction in camera, no correction out of camera. This is straight out of the camera. We're gonna lower the ISO one more time to 6400. We're going to open up the aperture to 6.3 is 2 stops overexposed at 14 millimeter. Holding a lens in front of the camera. It's got a good minimum focus distance as well. That's one of the beauties of this 14 to 28. And I will quickly pull away, and there is the wide. There's the face, and then we're gonna do 28 mil. Gets to brick wall. A little bit of sun coming through, very blocked by the trees. And we will zoom into 28 mil. And we will come in close too on the macro. Make sure we're in focus. Okay. That is our complete full test without the OLPF. Now we're gonna put it on, see the difference. All right, so when you open this baggie up, you will be greeted with this guy. And it's a little confusing because these fall out. But that is the point. These little magnetic parts are supposed to. From my estimation, this side that says Kolari should be on top, but they look identical. So I think they're identical. You'll want to line them up against the bottom side of the frame. Then you're actually going to want to invert it, and you'll see it's a perfect fit. And then we're going to push in after we reveal these little strips. This is what you want to carefully peel back according to this video here. That's the magnetic adhesive part. So we're just going to peel that. Okay, I got it started carefully. Sliding it over and then doing the same thing here. They say don't do this above your sensor, just in case. Got this peeled off. Now, this side down. Dropping it in frame. Now you'll see the Kolari logo on top there. And we're just going to press firmly. Trying not to shimmy it, just pressing straight down on all parts of it. Pressing firmly down here on all parts of it. I wasn't actually going to show this process, but that was just confusing enough to where I thought it would be useful for someone. And then I'm going to slowly lift it up. And it looks like that magnetic part is installed on the top and the bottom. You can see the Kolari logo there. It's lifted just outside of it. And as you know, as well underneath there. But I think that's a perfect fit. And I think it will serve its purpose. All right. Now we're going to try to drop in the filter that was included in the case. There it is. That's the OLPF. This is the tool they give you to gently lift it. And we shall gently drop it in. Gets caught in the corner a little bit. To be exactamente. There you go. May want to blow the dust out too. It's got they got a microfiber cleaning cloth they give you. Okay. Let us see the shutter opening. See if it affects it. It shouldn't. And there you go. Now we're going to test it out. All right, we have changed absolutely nothing. We're going to reverse engineer this with the lens here. So the anamorphic lens. We have the OLPF on. It's the first time we're filming with it. Do the face. We still have the same sun, very similar sun. Trying not to look directly at it. Almost at 28 millimeter there. And we're going to go out to 14 millimeter. There's the wide against the brick. Lots of bricks and stones. All right, we're going to put on the anamorphic lens after we test. There's f4. And let's stop down to f11 and zoom in to 28 mil against the brick. Same ISO 6400. Auto white balance still, and ProRes, we're now down to the 4.8K. I think that's a max res. 30 frames. We're still shooting at a 180-degree shutter all the way. All right, putting on the Blazar. Bad news, we ran into a snafu that's not letting the Blazar lens mount. Maybe there's a slight adjustment that you have to do with those magnetic strips, but it is not going in. I was putting some pretty hard force on it. So we're not gonna force it. We're gonna let it go for now, maybe troubleshoot it down the road. That's really sad that I can't use the anamorphic lens without figuring out exactly why it's not sitting all the way back. The threads aren't threading on the Blazar. Press pause on that. We'll continue to do the other lenses. So we sorted out the situation with the lenses for now. The good news is the rest of the OLPF test can be done with the Sigma and this LUMIX that's mounted on here. The TTArtisan got in there, but it finagled and is risking scratching the OLPF. And the Blazar cannot mount at all without taking out that OLPF. I can still use the lenses on the camera as long as I take out the OLPF. So I've let Kolari know, and we'll continue the test. We're 3 stops underexposed. We have the same settings as before. We have ProRes, 4.8K, 422 HQ, 30 frames a second. Always 180-degree shutter for these tests. We're shooting in Vlog, and I've set the white balance of 4800K. The ISO is 640. The f-stop is 5.8. We will raise the ISO to 6400. We're about 2/3 of a stop underexposed according to that. And we will crop in. Once we pull focus, pull zoom on 28 millimeter. Let's pan upwards. tilt upwards. There's not seeing any weird focus stuff, which is good too. You will see some noise because we're at 6400. And we'll back off of this at 640. 3 stops underexposed. Now I'm seeing the focus because we are dark, struggling. Let us switch to the Jersey. Same settings, about 2 stops underexposed. Let's raise this to 64. About a stop overexposed, mostly the wall. Check focus. I really like how clean it looks so far. And now we're gonna back out to 14. Tilt down, and we will lower the ISO to 800. Looks better, but we will continue 640, and we're 3 stops underexposed there. Noticing a little flare. I don't know if that was there before. It's just from that. It disappears, and it reappears there, and it disappears there. It also changes when I change the zoom. It's not there. There it is, and there it goes. All right, we're gonna switch to the Sigma. We're at 200 mil, ISO 640, full area. F3.5, we're gonna stop it down to F5.6. We're gonna zoom out from 200 to 70. Gonna raise the ISO. We're 2 stops underexposed. We'll raise it to the next native ISO, which, by the way, it is saying is 5,000. So we'll do that. About 2/3 of a stop overexposed, according to that. And I guess we'll zoom in at ISO 5000 to the texture. Focus is being a little weird. Pulling focus there with the button. We'll pan and tilt. Let's tilt first. There's also a black fabric behind it. That's a acoustic material there. There it is. And then we'll tilt. This is an important test too, because I will be filming people with suits very soon, and I will be using this exact setup. And we're at 200 mil, ISO 500, about a stop underexposed. And panning around, tilting down. There's the material. Pan a little bit. I'm going to zoom out to 70 as I do so. See that little flare again from the light. Very simple lighting setup. It's a very small tube light. Let's now open this up to 2.8-ish. We'll go with 2.8 and then lower our ISO back down to the lowest setting, which is 640. We're about a stop underexposed, still with that 180-degree shutter at 70 mil, and we will do the same thing and tilt around. There's 200. So I will be shooting at f2.8 in some of the dark facilities. Kind of make sure I don't have to crank the ISO too hard and keep it really clean. And I love this OLPF so far. I really like the look that this is giving. I could definitely use this. There's the pocket and the buttons. Autofocus is freaking out. It's a little dark. It's about 3 stops underexposed. And we're back to there. All right, there's our first test. Same deal, we have some products here, some vinyl. I'm gonna be panning around with the OLPF, f2.8, ISO 6400, 70 millimeters. We're about a stop overexposed according to that, so let's crank it even worse to 5,000. Stop it down to like 5.6, which is more reasonable. Maybe even f8. So we'll really use that sharpness as we go across. And zooming in, autofocus recognizes that, and I'm pulling it manually. And then panning across. Yeah, okay. Pretty sharp. F8, ISO 5000, mind you. Panning over to box. Looking good. I'm just gonna open it back up. I do like to shoot products a little more open, about 3.2, and lower that ISO all the way down to 6400. Pull in focus again. Center frame, we're gonna get that nice compression in bokeh. We are at 200 millimeter. Heading over to the vinyl pressing. That's an original Elvis first pressing. It's very beat up. Vinyl doesn't play great, but that is an original. There it is. Painting over to Interstellar. One of the best movies of all time. On to Blu-ray. A must-see masterpiece. And some candy, mints. 200 millimeter. ISO 6400, f3.2. Same V-Log settings and white balance settings. So now we will continue on with, we will do the wide angle lens on the LUMIX to make sure we have all of our bases covered next. 14 millimeter, just getting everything in focus. You may even see rubber sole on the right-hand side. 6400 f 4.0 wide open on 14 mil. Let's raise the ISO and change it up 5,000. So we'll go down to 7.1. And just panning around. Get a little glare. It's just going to be on there because it's reflective plastic. Whoops. Sorry, Matthew McConaughey. It'll be over soon. We'll zoom in to 28. Focus is looking good. Just pulling it again. There's Elvis. Hope you've enjoyed this journey of discovery with us. There's Altoids slightly crooked. And there. Same settings. We're at f7.1. Should be really sharp. We can go sharper. We can definitely go sharper to f11. We're about a third of a stop underexposed. And I'm lighting it with a bigger tube light above it. And there might be some natural light coming in from the window. Maybe from this side too with that small tube light in which we used to light that over there. Just to make sure there's clarity on that. All right, moving on to the next category here. All right, we no longer need to worry about the blasting sunlight coming in. We're at ISO 5000, f11, 5.6, we're all the way in on 28 millimeters. We are at ISO 5000. Slightly overexposed, about 2 1/3 stops, so we can go ahead and lower it. Just that little bit. I like about 800, about 1/3 underexposed there. And tilts any amp. So we are going to go wide. We're at f5.6 still, about a stop overexposed, ISO 800. Normally I would want to test this, but this literally won't mount with the OLPF without risk of scratching it or something going wrong. So we're going to skip that test, unfortunately. We were today years old when we learned that lesson. So I hope that helps anyone out there. If you have some cool third-party lenses that are really cheap and you want to use them with the OLPF, just know you're going to have that issue. Got a little bit of that golden sun. I really like that. And then this is handheld. So we'll just replicate what that would have been with this. It's got pretty good macro capability. This is a Monstera Thai Constellation indoor plant. That is a new leaf right on the bottom there, the shiny one without a lot of that variegation white spot. Just kind of a pure green leaf. And I like it. Not a lot of fenestrations either. That's the little holes in this new leaf here. Still a juvenile plant. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on to, the LUMIX equipment. That's what we're moving on to next. Starting out wide, that's 14 millimeters, it's very wide. We're gonna go into 28 mil to do these before we get out the Sigma as well. But just wanted to get a shot of that, what it would look like. We're at f5.6, ISO 800. We'll raise it just a little bit to compensate, and we're at about a stop and a third overexposed. Some shiny, shiny. Got to stop. These lenses will not mount to the OLPF, and until I take them off, and then I'll be able to use them again on the S1ii. Go a little closer. Sliding the tripod pole down, tilting up. Focus pull looks good. Let's do it with the Sigma. That's more what I'm interested in. We are at ISO 5000 and we are zoomed in at 200 mil. So let's go ahead and recalculate. Where we're at, we need the tripod to go up. And there's our LUMIX at ISO 5000. So I'm gonna stop this down. Remember, we're just trying to create noise with that ISO 5000. So we're at f11 right there. And there's what we're looking at. Let's go into 200 millimeter at f11 with the LUMIX logo there. Struggling a little bit. Pressing the button, it's still struggling. We might be at minimum focus, which I do have a diopter for, the S1ii. That's what I was also going to throw in there. Helps with macro close focusing. Has the potential for some moire with that texture. And I am not using stabilization other than the regular IBIS that's built in. Is 200 mil, and now we're sharp. F11, ISO 5000. So we're going to lower that ISO from that 5000 to 6400, and we'll slowly open it back up. That's F14, if you were curious. Back to 2.8, a little soft at 2.8, so if we clean it up at about F4, that's what we're looking at. Let's keep it at F4 as we pan around. And at 200, there's our LUMIX. Focusing in the center of the frame. All right. Well, that last test was a little ironic because we did shoot it at the 40mm only, and we weren't able to use it to test. We had to use the 70. But let's go ahead and test the screens with the Quad Cortex and the iPad M4 with the nano texture anti-glare coating. Same lighting scenario. We'll go into 200. Where we are at 200 mil. We are at f4 and ISO 6400 autofocus. Let's go ahead and close it down even more to 7.1, and we'll crank that ISO to 5000. That's what we're looking at, about a stop overexposed. Let's tilt around, not in focus. Screen, let's tilt down, and I'm going to zoom out to the next screen. 200mm on this screen without an anti-reflective coating, just a regular screen. Really nice touch screen on a guitar effects modeling amp processor. ISO 5000. Let's clean it up just a little bit more to f16 just to get it at an even exposure. That's really sharp. Pull in focus again. Looks good. Going up to the iPad. The chimp swinging around at the Memphis Zoo. Autofocus. And the last one is the rhinos. We'll go a little wider and do both screens at the same time for that. And let's now go all the way up. May not use it, but we might clean up almost wide open and throw the ISO down to base ISO. That's what we would look at with f3.4, ISO 6400. I am manually holding the tripod tilt because this is a heavy lens, the Sigma 70 to 200. That's locked in, not touching it at all. All right, we shall continue. I would like to see it with the LUMIX because that does have really good macro on it. We might be able to see some things on that, so we will switch over to the 14 to 28. The 28mm on here, which is what we'll stay at, f5.6 ISO 6400. There's our iPad M4 and our Quad Cortex screens together. Now in monopod mode, there's the screen there. We'll crank the ISO again to our exposure about even. There's our screen, pretty dark, and there's our Quad Cortex screen. And I'm pretty much handheld now, leaning against the table. Pretty much at minimum focus. The screens together with the Panda. That's pretty good. All right. Today for the Kolari OLPF. And I really hope just that test gave you some insight, some clarity, the same questions I was asking, if this would really truly make a difference in the scenarios that I need it for. I am a working professional. I do more conference filmmaking. If you made it this far, I'll talk a little bit about the stuff that I do just to give you a background. I do also love random filmmaking and lens stuff. You'll find that on the channel, whether it's going to a zoo or doing music talk. Obviously, there's some vinyl over here, and I do enjoy collecting, connecting with the community, and showcasing beautiful people in the community that we love, and talking music whether it's creating it or just admiring it, appreciating it, and appreciating you stopping by. And as I always say on the other channel, keep on grooving your way. We'll see you back real soon.